back onto the Enigma machine again. Gets a bit confusing switching between hobbies like this, but I thought tonight I'm waiting for paint and various things on the car to dry, so it's a good chance to do some more on the Enigma. I've been reprinting various parts, and I actually started wiring up the circuit board with the pogo pins for the rotors. And to do this, I'm actually using a little jig I 3D printed, which, if you get the pins in, this basically allows me to get the pins at exactly the right height and also make sure they're all vertical. So as you can see, I've just done 4 of them for now, and I need to do the other 22. Speaking of pins, I've actually ordered more pogo pins because I think I ordered 200 to start with. Obviously I need 5 times 26 plus the ones for the reflector, and I'm a bit worried that I'm going to screw this up. I'll be very surprised if this works first go and I don't have to order more. So I've already ordered more of those, and if I can open the tin, I've ordered more of the rivets. I did have to do this because the rivets aren't all the same head size. There are some that are a little bit smaller. Let's see. They're not 100% consistent in the diameter of the heads. So I may not be able to use all of those, but I have ordered more of those as well. I've ended up having to reprint the thumb wheel and the ratchet, and this is a part I printed today, and I've already discovered, if I take this out of here, the way this works is this fits in here and the pins poke through. I've already discovered that I'm probably going to need to make the holes in the ratchet here bigger, because if the circuit board isn't 100% lined up, the heads of the pogo pins can get stuck. So if I make those holes probably only a millimeter larger diameter, that'll clear those pins. The other thing you can see here is how much I've got sticking out from the rotor. That's all based on my Fusion 360 model, which is accurate. But of course, when you actually assemble things and print things in plastic, that may not be enough. In which case, that's why I would need more pogo pins, because the way I would fix that is make new circuit boards with new pins, but a slightly different size spacer. So again, that's one of the reasons why I've made them the way I have, and I've ordered more of those pins. So hopefully those are sticking out enough that they make contact with the next rotor. But the only way to tell is build it and see. So I'm going to redesign this piece just with bigger holes so those heads don't catch. I might go and do that now so I can actually start that printing tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and assemble, solder in the rest of the pogo pins, if I can get them out. If you're wondering what actually holds that in place when it's all assembled, there's a ring that fits on there, and when it's all clamped together, that sort of clamps it all in place, that holds it. The other end, the end with the rivets, the way I've designed this is so that you can assemble it off the rotor. If it'll come out. Everything's quite a good fit, so it's a little bit tricky with one hand. But the idea will be the pins press through this piece, and we'll have little wires coming off them. And the idea is I've got enough room that I can manipulate this so I can actually solder the wires coming off the pins to the pads around the outside. And this is the wiring diagram for the first rotor, rotor number 1, And this is where I have to be very careful I don't make mistakes, because otherwise the machine won't work at all. But this should help me with figuring out which pins the wires go between and the best way to run them in this. But the idea is you can wire this up here on the bench with a little bit of length on the wires, so you're not restricted. And then when it comes time to assemble it, you sort of drop all of this in with the spacer. That goes on there. The ring can slide over that, and then this top cover goes on and actually holds it all in place. One of the things I have to be very careful of is the printed circuit board is completely symmetrical, but the position it fits in isn't, because of this, because there are 26 contacts but there are 3 mounting holes, only one of them actually lines up as the top one, which is A, which is that one, because the holes aren't evenly spaced. So I have to make sure I get the orientation of all of this correct, so that when it's assembled with the ring, and the ring is in the A position, which is set by this little pin and the holes in this. So if that's A, I think that's A, no, B. That would be like that. Like I say, it's a bit difficult to do all this with one hand, but if the A position is like that, you have to make sure that the circuit board and this piece are aligned so the A is in the correct place, and it isn't where this hole is. So that was a little bit of an oversight when I actually made this. I forgot to take into account the fact that it's this pin that sets where the A connection is. So in this case, it's up here, because that's the letter that's going to be uppermost in the machine window with the correct ring setting. So that's something else I have to make sure I get correct. If I get that wrong, when I go to position this, because there are only 3 positions it can go in, it'll be wrong. So that's something I also need to make sure I absolutely get right. In the background you might hear the new rotor printing, the new ratchet wheel rather. But I have soldered the first rotor PCB with the pogo pins, and the little jig worked quite well. That's actually come out reasonably nicely, and hopefully that should push through there. And there's my pins. So I've made the holes around the pins 0.5 millimeter bigger. So I'm hoping that's just enough clearance that the pins don't catch on the edges. I'll see how that goes. Obviously I can print more. It's easy enough to change the rotor over. The next step now will be figuring out which is the A pin, marking that carefully, and then start doing the wiring. So now I have figured out which is the top position, effectively the A position, for this. I call it the internal cover, inside cover for the contact side, and because there's 3 positions it can go in, you have to make sure you get it in the correct one. And I found the easiest way to do that is to line it up and then look through at something bright and just make sure all the holes are lining up, and then as a second check I just put through some drill bits just to make sure that they go straight up and down and the holes all do line up. So with that done, I can now mark the A position on the rotor, which will be that one there. And this is one of those funny stories about the Enigma and how they figured out how to crack it, where the British got stuck and the Poles figured out what was going on. Because you've got the entry wheel that comes into the rotor stack coming from the keyboard, the way the letters enter the first rotor, they didn't know what the order was, because it could be any order. So you could have letter A coming in, it doesn't have to go to the top pin, it could go to any of them. And I guess the British assumed that the Germans would have used random pins for where the letters from the keyboard came in. The Poles, needing somewhere to start when they tried to figure it out mathematically, I think they basically just assumed, well, let's start with the numbering A, B, C, D, E, F, G, lettering rather, and that turns out to be what it was. So the Germans, they could have been a bit cleverer and not made it sequential for the entry wheel. They could have mixed that up, and it would have been another complication on the Enigma machine. With that all labelled now and my PCB labelled, I'm ready to actually start doing the wiring. Like I say, I've got my wiring diagram here. I have the list of what the letters need to go to. It's interesting because I've done so many Enigma projects. I've done the little the watches, pocket watch and the wristwatch, and I did the Turing-Welchman bomb, and I also did an implementation of the Enigma algorithm in BASIC on the little 6502 computer I made, that I don't exactly remember the sequences, but they do look familiar to me, so I'm getting reasonably used to them. So like I say, the next job is all the wiring. It's actually got dark now, and to be honest, my hands are really sore, so I've been using little drill bits to sort of clean out all of the holes and basically use them like little reamers. And I find it's really hard on my hands, especially if I've been doing a lot of car stuff on the weekend. So my hands are aching. It's very dark, so I find it hard to see. So I'm probably going to leave the wiring till tomorrow. But I'm pretty confident now that I can actually start doing that. One thing I did on the reflector was, with the little rivets, I actually drilled holes in the ends of each of them so I could push the wire in and solder it. That worked really well, but it's a pain in the neck to do. It just takes forever. So I'm actually going to try soldering the wires directly to these. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to push the pins through, all of them, and then I'm probably going to sit this in a little saucer of water, and then using my trusty old Weller there, which I've always run it with a very hot tip. I've always found soldering it's better to have it hotter and do it faster than have a cooler tip and spend longer heating everything up. So what I'm hoping is I can push all the pins through and then just simply solder the wires I'm going to use to the ends of it, leave them all as flying pigtails, and then I can figure out where they need to go on the circuit board. The wire I'm going to use is probably very fine enameled copper wire. I think that should work fine, because these wires, once they're all in place, there's no movement on them. So hopefully that'll work reasonably well.